Hey there everyone and welcome to another lecture of this Catia series. So finally in this lecture we are going to see one exercise, and this exercise will going to be related to the assembly, and the assembly that we are going to see over here is the single cylinder engine assembly. So yes, this is a very exciting project and I have created the parts of that assembly and now I'm going to assemble this whole thing. So let me just provide you one preview what this engine will going to look like. So right now you can see that this is the whole assembly. This is also a block and this is also made up of a hard material, but I have provided the properties of transparent over here. So right now you can see that some transparency over here, and this is the whole assembly that I'm talking about. So here I have made the block, the base, the connecting rod, the crankshaft, the end cap, piston head, and also there are a lot more types of parts over here. And this exercise is very important, so I guess everybody will going to continue this whole lecture, so don't try to skip this one. So if I'm going to move this object, like with the help of this let's say this piston, and if for that you just have to hide this whole object. In this lecture we are going to see about the hide and show property as well. So if I'm going to manipulate this along this rotation, and if I'm going to rotate that, you can see that how beautifully this engine is going to be rotated. So there is a block over here, but that block is not visible right now. It's not like that I have deleted that block. It is visible. It is invisible right now. So let's just assemble this whole things again. So for that, I'm going to open the new assembly, and now I am going to import those parts. I have just provided you this whole section, and this is the Catia tutorial, and this contains a predefined shapes or predefined models that will help you to learn the assembly even better, because here you don't have to create the parts. We have always we have by us we have created that part, and the only thing that you have to perform over here is to do the assembly. So this will guide you how to assemble the part. Right now I'm going for this tutorial one. This tutorial is going to contain all the parts that is related to the assembly of that engine. The first thing is this base, then we have the block, then we have the connecting rod, then we have the crankshaft, and then we have this end cap as well. So this is the all six parts over here. So you can just import all the parts together as well. So you just have to select it by pressing the control and just press OK. Now you can see that all the part is available over here. So I think we haven't imported the piston and the block, main block. So yes, it is in a hidden stage right now. So we have the whole components over here. So just go for this explode right now and just explode all the things. So it will going to be separated, and then we have to call the pistons as well. So just go for this again and just select the piston. So I think the piston is yes, this is the piston head. So these are all parts over here. Now the task is to just assemble. So the first thing that we are going to do is to make this body transparent. So how we can just do that is just right click over that, just go for its property, and you will find the transparency option right over here. So just increase the transparency and just apply it over here. Okay, so I think we just have to increase it from here. So yes, this is the transparency. So you just have to click it from here and just apply it. The body will going to be somewhere transparent. You can see that. Now the first thing that you have to do for the assembly is to just fix one part. So I'm going to fix this one, this whole thing together. So for that, I'm going to use this fix component and I'm going to make this base as the fix one. And now with respect to this base, the whole thing is going to be assembled. So I'm going to use the constraints very smoothly, and I'm going to use only the offset as well as the coincident constraints. So for that, just go for the coincident, and then you just have to select this face as well as this face, and then just make it okay and just update your project. And you can see that the body is now being attached. Then over here you just have to make this sections coincident. So just go for the coincident and just make this edge and this edge coincident. And what this will do, it will going to align this whole thing together like this. So firstly, I have just provided the constraints between these two faces so that they can just stick together. And then for the aligning purpose, I have just selected one of the edge and just aligned it with the another body edge. And now we have the whole assembly. Now since these two parts will going to behave as the same, so I'm going to make this fix together. It is optional thing. You can just put it over here, or if you don't want, you can just ignore that thing. So once you have done that, then we have the another things to explore. For that, I just have to just take out the pistons from here. So just hide this section first. And in assembly, the Catia assembly, the hidden and showing stages are very important. To hide anything, you just have to right click over that body and you will find the hide and show options over here. So just click on that and this body will going to be hidden. And you can just select this section which is known as the view section, and here the last thing that you will find over here is this hide and show option as well as this visible space swapping. So if you are going to click on that, you will going to interchange the spaces. Now you are inside the hidden spaces, and all the things that are hidden over there is now been visible over here. Similarly, if I'm going to sweep it again, you will find we are inside another space. So if I'm going to hide it over here, right, if I'm going to click on this hide and this hide, it will going to automatically invisible over here, because hiding from that stage will going to be visible over here. So once you have just all the things assembled over here, once we have just got the piston outside of this body, I can just make it visible again. So I think you have understand about this section, which is the hide visible space. You can just select this direct option over here, and with the help of that you can just click the body and that will going to be automatically hide. You don't have to right click over that. So just again go for this space and just click on this body and just make it show over here again, and you will find this body available over here. Now again just go for the coincident and just make this piston axis and this body axis as coincident and just make it update product. And now you can see that the body is now being updated, and if I'm going to hide this piston and this block, this body will automatically going to move along this body and there will be no motion. So it means that this motion, I have just acquired the motion which is the reciprocating motion of the piston, and that is done with the coincident joint between the body piston head and the block. Then we have to just again just go for the crankshaft. So for the crankshaft, I just have to click on this coincident, and if I'm going to click on this axis, and if I'm going to click on this axis again, you can see that we have the upgradation over here. Just update it and this will going to move along this one. And for that you just have to provide the offset between this face as well as this face, and just provide it 4, and that I have just calculated it. So you just have to provide the 4 over here, or you can just make it somewhere around 10 since to make it in the middle. So I have just provided it, and that will I think in the middle. So just make it as 15. I think that will be better. Just upgrade your project, and this object is now being over here. The next task is to just assemble this crankshaft, and for that you just have to go for the coincident again. Just select this face as well as this edge and just make it coincident and just update it. You can see that it is on their place now. And then to make this body aligned over here, so for that what I'm going to do, I'm going to make this space again visible, and so for that I'm going to sweep my space, and again I'm going to hide it over here. And then if I'm going to over here, you can see that this is visible now. Why it is not visible? So I think something is happening like this one. And this one, why it is not visible over there, I don't know. Okay, so I may have to show it from here first, and then I am going to hide it. Okay, then again hide it. Yes, since we have this figure, we right now we require this one only. So for that, just go for the coincident, or you can just also select the offset and just make this body and this face as the coincident. Just update this project again, and you will find that we have this alignment ready. And now for the connecting rod, you just have to go for the coincident again, and you just have to select this face and this one, this small edge over here. Just update your project, and that will going to meet over here. And then you just have to make this faces coincident, or you can just make this offset over here if you want, but this coincident will be the better option. Just go for the coincident and just make it with this face, and just make it update, and you can see that it just come along this place like this. And then the whole assembly is, I think, ready. You just go for the coincident and just select this body, and you can just move this one, and you can see that the piston is currently moving. It means that we have done the right thing. Okay, since it is not coincident over here, so for that, okay, I have just done the cancel, doesn't matter. We have to make this one and this one aligned as well, because you can see that this is not aligned right now. So for that, I just have to make this axis and this axis coincident, and just update this our product, and you can see that the body is now being aligned. So you can find that how easily it is to just make this body coincident together and just make the assembly. So believe me, as I have told you earlier, that coincident, offset, these two are the very common constraints, and you will always find the use of these two constraints. Rest all other constraints except the fixed component is the rare one. You will not find so much of applications, but this coincident and this offset is pretty very important one. Now I'm going to just again go for this visible space, and I'm going to make this thing visible over there. So I'm going to hide this from here, and you can see that now this whole thing is visible. So now I have done this assembly. So just rotate this again, and just select this thing and just go for this, and you can see that the body is going to be rotated like this, and the piston is also having the reciprocating motion. So we have done the required assembly. So as I've told you the definition of the assembly, that we assembly is such that the combination creates a useful motion. So you can see that the Catia is providing us that useful motion. So with that, I think we have done this assembly, but this is I it will going to clear out for you if you are going to watch this video 2 or 3 times, because watching only one time, I don't think you can just clear out all the constraint that we have used. Your task is to just repeat this whole thing again. I have just provided this section over that manual with the manual, and you can just, you don't have to worry about creating the bodies. I've just provided you that section, so you just have to only import it into the assembly, and you just have to create the whole assembly. You can also just pause the video, and you can see all the constraint that I have used over here, that we have used a coincident between this block and the base. So this is the block and this is the base that I have used for the coincident. Then again, I have just used this block and the base. You can just double click over that, and you can just find out which are the constraints that I'm talking about. The constraint will going to be highlighted. Then we have just fixed these two part together, and then for the coincident, I have just make this piston and this piston block, this circular part coincident, so that this can on move reciprocate along this body. Then I have just used this coincident between the connecting rod and this body, so that they can be aligned together. Then with the offset value, I have just provided certain distance between them. Then we have the coincident between this face, this rod crankshaft, and this board base, this connecting rod. And then we have the coincident between these two faces to make them aligned. Then we have the coincident between this end cap and this connecting rod, similarly the other one as well, to make this aligned. Then the final coincident is between these two bodies so that this can be fixed inside this secure part. And with that we have completed this one. And if I'm going to rotate our connecting rod with respect to consent, we will get the desired motion. Or you can also manipulate your piston, like you can just select this one and just hide this body, and you can just manipulate it, and you can see that the body's connecting rod is now being rotated. So I think we have completed this whole assembly section, and it's your task is to just rotate, also just repeat this whole exercise again. So that's all for this lecture, and I'm going to catch up with you in the next one.